Hello. Good morning to you. It's me, it's Craig here at Fludded, and as ever, it's a pleasure to talk to myself and a camera. And I want to talk about Elon Musk's interview with the BBC, and the BBC sent a journalist to interview Elon Musk about taking over Twitter, etc. That's all available on the iPlayer if you're only going to watch it in its fullness. Elon Musk, I think, almost bizarrely and cleverly, also, I think it's not bizarre, it's just brilliant, also streamed it sort of live to Twitter, which kind of made the BBC, it kind of forced them to not edit it. It's kind of like, well, we can't edit this down because he's put the whole thing out there already. And I wonder if they'll start introducing little clauses to say, look, this is our interview. You can't do your own version of it. It's kind of like going to be interesting. But I think this long form that we all enjoy on YouTube and Twitter and, that's going to be something that the media is going to have to start coping with. The editing process is open to too much corruption in terms of driving the narrative or driving your emotions to believe something, or just all the things that are employed but in the edit suite to manipulate how you feel about a news story, but piano because it's sad, that sort of thing. Anyway, so I tweeted about this because I found the clip that was circulating a little bit. Constantine Kissing, or Constantly Kissing as we call him, was tweeted out about it. And it was quite funny, but I sort of mentioned it. I sort of replied because recently I did a little. There's this documentary on iPlayer made by the media misinformation producer or whatever the job title is at the BBC. I can't remember her name. So she made this documentary, and in it, citing since Elon Musk had become in charge, that's a flattering picture they've used of him, in charge, ominous blue light and everything. And I'm just noticing how gloomy and ominous they've made it look. Jeez. Since Elon Musk got in charge of Twitter, that basically it's become a worse, more hateful and abusive platform. So we have to remember that there was a stage where a lot of people didn't like the fact that Elon said, you know what, I'm unbanning everyone. I'm starting it again from scratch. Because if you think about it, he's kind of got to go through, if there's been evidence that Twitter sort of had performed bad behavior and it's been unfair in the past, you kind of have to think, well, okay, how do we undo that? And I think that what he did was kind of right, because he gave them all rope again and said, here you go. And immediately all the old people who were, or a lot of like right-winger YouTubers or whatever, who are all saying the things that they say. If anyone ever said it, it was just instantly reported and they got banned again, and that was that. They were gone. Nick Fuentes came and he went almost immediately. So, and some of the more sort of the right-wing YouTubers who have been a bit more risque and not risque, but edgier, back in the sort of Gamergate period, who were all like maturing now, were all behaving themselves because they knew what it was like to be in Twitter prison. And so they're up, and they're just being a bit more, it's kind of like they've all had their knuckles wrapped and like they're at school. Bad kids are now behaving a little bit better. And that's a positive thing. But if there is anything out there that is hateful, then it's in the gutter of the anonymous accounts. And I'm not saying everyone who has anonymous accounts is a bad person, but I'm saying that bad people enjoy anonymity. There's something about, I can say what I want and I'm going to have no responsibility for it whatsoever. Nobody's going to come back at me in reality. So that's the trolling element that is allowed to exist on Twitter. So anyway, this documentary was made, and in it, there's a graphic sequence like this. Was this girl who went through an horrific experience and started using Twitter to. You can just see her there. Sorry, I've partially covered up her face. Well, the graphics have. She She went through this horrific experience and tried to use that to help other people on Twitter. And one of the things that she did was, or they did, they animated like these tweets, all animating, coming towards the camera as if they are like thousands and thousands and thousands of tweets. And if you kind of look at some of them, you know, they're like, you know, they're kind of like, they're awful. I mean, but they're not that bad. I mean, they'll probably be worse received if you've been through a horrific experience. But these are not that's classed by the BBC there as a hate tweet. Someone is after celeb status. These are just idiots. And there's another one here. Look, I replied to myself because I found another one. Sorry, but I don't believe this girl one bit. That is a hate tweet, apparently, according to the BBC. So I'm helping Elon out because he wants to know where are these hate tweets. I'm helping you. They've shown us in this animated graphic that they did. I should also point out, actually, if I just I'm recording this live, so apologies if it is if it's a little bit slow to get the information out to you. I found this here. I screen grabbed this. So I can just do it. This is while she was talking about the tweets that she was sending out, and so this is her sharing her bad experience. And I just noticed that at the bottom here, she's had 22,000 likes, 3,000 retweets, 130 comments. Well, I don't know what that means. Is that a reach of 3 million? These are all positive, aren't they? Isn't this a positive reaction to what she's doing? But they're citing the tweets that I showed you before as hate tweets. What about all the love tweets? All the we like what you're doing tweets, the support tweets? Where's the documentary about how wonderful Twitter is at harboring so much love? It's not being made. And this is the problem, I think, that we're just not getting both sides of the coins, which is what you get here at Fludded. Hey, what a wonderful space to come and be lectured to at by me. Sorry, I don't want to lecture anybody. So what is this all about? I will bring it up just because I have it, but because I tweeted out a clip of the actual thing that was said. It's not too long. Let me find it for you. Here it is. I'll just tweet.
Recently, who were involved in moderation.
Oh, hold on. There's a wee bit of an odd. It's an odd recording, but bear with me. Here it is.
We've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter,
right?
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
but just a personal anecdote, like what do you? I don't.
Personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content, yeah, personally. But I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
So, now, the point is that some people might think, well, you know, this guy is here to interview Elon Musk. Why is Elon Musk just answering a question with a question, which is a very good point. You know, you shouldn't, that's what politicians do, and that's annoying. But the point he's about to make is that the BBC, and the guy here also agrees, the BBC has shared misinformation in the past or made mistakes. They, you know, he points out that there were people saying certain things about during COVID, which is kind of like, you know, non-story now as far as most people are concerned. Well, it's not a non-story, but you know what I mean. It's not a topic people are necessarily talking about. But in terms of the information that needs to get out to people, it's kind of like we don't, you know, we're not worried about it so much now. But there were people saying that certain things, masks didn't work, and all these things that people were saying, even if it's nonsense, which my personal opinion is that it was, but that's just my personal opinion, right? But I still want to hear what they're saying. You know, if they're saying, oh, masks don't work, I'll say, well, okay, they do. Let's talk about it. What do you mean? Why? Show me how you've got evidence of that. I'll show you how I believe that it isn't that evidence is nonsense, and the people you've cited as providing that evidence, I don't trust them, because you look at people's sources all the time, pin it down to sources. Anyway, so Elon's challenging him to say, well, the BBC have shared misinformation, and if you think about it, isn't it odd if that is the case that it's odd for people who have shared misinformation to then challenge another organization on their broadcasting of misinformation. So it's just like, it's kind of odd, really. So the BBC are like obviously I'll play on, but they're being confronted. He's confronting them to say, what are you talking about in terms of hate speech?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content.
I don't know what slightly racist is or slightly sexist. Is he just like being a bit afraid to come out and say fully racist or fully sexist? It's kind of like there's gradations of racism. There's gradations of hatred. Hatred is we know what hate is. We saw it in the 40s across Europe. And it's disgusting, and there's no place for it in humanity, and everybody's against hate, but they're redefining what that is. It's like, is me making this video hateful? That previous documentary I was talking about, the BBC copyright struck me on it. Even though I was doing this, pausing it and talking about it, the copyright struck me. I challenged and said it's transformative. They said, no, we're going to stick with it. And then I can't challenge it after that because it's too risky. And then you get a strike against your channel, 3 strikes, and your channel's deleted. So the BBC won that little battle. They don't want you to challenge them on this stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if this got copyright struck, what I'm doing here. I've paused. I'm going through. I'm holding them accountable. They're a publicly funded organization, and I'm saying, what are you talking about? What are you doing? And I'm challenging them, and they don't want me to do it, right? They'll knock down. They understand the power that people like. Well, I don't have much power because I'm only a small YouTuber, but YouTube can have. Anyway, I'm ranting.
Content. I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
It's kind of interesting because he comes across as a bit of a lefty to me, and that's fine. That's good. Be that. But if he's kind of like a bit of an activist as well, then he's going to see. He's probably talking about the replies to a lot of the people he follows, right? So he's probably following a bunch of people who are, what Piers Morgan's, they call the woke brigade. I'm doing that, guys, with my fingers. He's probably part of that, and doesn't see it as woke, and nothing wrong with being woke. I don't know. I don't know where he's coming from. But if he does come from that sort of position, and as a journalist, he is probably following all these. I hope that he's following people that he disagrees with, because I do. And when I've ever fought them, they just block you. So I kind of like stay silent on what they say to a certain extent, and then we'll make a video about them. But so he's obviously going to see the very. Hey, guess what? Breaking news: horrible people exist in the world, and they have access to creating anonymous accounts. I've always said that the good thing about being verified is you have to do it with your bank account and everything. You have to. I think do you send a picture of yourself? I can't remember. But when you're verified, you're kind of not going to be going off abusing people and breaking the law, and you become part of a society, a society of blue ticks, which was the sole preserve of the rich and famous and noteworthy before. What is that noise? Oh, I've got new subscribers coming in. Thank you very much. So I was hearing that noise all the other day, and I was like, what's that noise? I don't even know what it is. And it's like subscribers. So yeah, so it's like I now think that I'm kind of just seeing mainly conversations from people who have proved who they are and they're verified. And I don't see all the detritus, the gutter. I know there's a lot of anonymous people using Twitter who are brilliant and doing a lot of sort of good things, but you're anonymous, and there's a price to pay for that, which is you don't really, nobody really cares what you say. You're just very brave, very brave. You know, it's very easy to say what you want when nobody's going to come up to you and say, "Excuse me, pardon, you what now?" You know, you can't be. You can just get away with murder. But yeah.
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
You
don't.
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you
and
said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on
my
a second.
followers.
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
Well, then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen that for you hateful content.
So isn't he a journalist? He's not using the he's like a misinformation typey person, and he's interviewing somebody and he's refusing to look at a certain aspect of what's available. So he's coming to this interview with 3 months out of date information for a start. He hasn't looked at For You, which he says is the core problem with Twitter. So he's talking about Twitter from 3 months ago. His experiences 3 months ago, it was full of hatred. And I've just shown you the kind of tweets the BBC regard as being hateful. I disagree with this woman. You know, that's one of the tweets that's hateful. And it's just bonkers. I'm not going to play the rest of it. Well, why not? It's only 10 seconds.
I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about. Which I thought was... this guy, Elon Musk, I mean, he's going from, meetings about rockets into space to, electric cars to arguing about hate speech, What a guy. I mean, I don't know. I know he's very well paid. But it's fascinating stuff. And I do, just to the BBC's credit, they have tried to come back and support this journalist, who I think is embarrassing. What an embarrassing situation to be in. He sat there with his little phone and he's like got his little questions. I can't fancy claiming that there's hate speech all over Twitter and not being able to get Elon Musk to answer for some of them and read them out to him and say, yes, on such a date, this person said this. What have you got to say about that? That person's account's still active. That'd be a gotcha. That'd be good. But he can't do it. And the thing is, I think it'd be quite easy to do it. It'd be quite easy to find an account that's saying horrible things. It's a big planet we live on. There's lots of people who have hateful belief systems. There's, gay people being thrown off buildings in some countries. And I'm sure people who believe that that's a good thing are on Twitter. BBC doesn't want to look at them. I don't know. It's just riddled with hypocrisy. It seems like bad journalism. And I just don't feel like the BBC are representing the broader view. And I find it a little bit disconcerting because if I sat there interviewing Elon Musk, I reckon I'd give him a good interview because I'd be friendly, but I would definitely find things that are wrong about it. And you just know that he would receive that really well. If you found a hole or an example of an account that was doing something really bad, obviously he's a CEO. He shouldn't be dealing with every complaint that comes in. But, I don't think he's the CEO anymore. He gave it to his dog, didn't he? His dog's now the CEO of Twitter. Has that to do with Dogecoin? I just realized, isn't that a dog? Anyway. Yeah, so, it shouldn't be his job, really, and he can't monitor it. And if they're inundated, then you need scores of people to fix that. And then, of course, you've got all the layoffs that they had because... there's just the system, because they couldn't have. I don't know what the reasons for the layoffs were. I don't know. Anyway, that's way too long to be talking about this topic. I hope you enjoyed my little wobble on about it. I make no apologies for that. The content I make is unedited. I record everything as live, and as you saw earlier, there are subscribers popping up. So sometimes these are clips taken from things that I do in a live stream. So do subscribe if you want to know when I'm doing more Let me know your thoughts on Twitter and the BBC. And you tell me what a hate tweet would look like. And if you can find them, report them, and let's get these people kicked off. And then we'll all have a lovely, lovely time. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.